how do you tell if a guy has money or not?
Wow. That's
Like if you're at a bar at a club, like how do you look at the guy? Women are very intuitive. How do you measure that?
Are we going around? Are we just hopping in?
Let's start here.
What's the scenery? Like, how are we judging?
Well, so you're in a bar, you're in a club, you're out at a restaurant, cafe, or something like that, and you see a guy. That guy has money, or that guy doesn't. What are you using to come to that conclusion?
Okay.
Oh.
How are we answering?
I can tell you right now. Oh my God, I got a headache. The guy that's obviously not the flashiest is the one that has the money.
Yeah.
When you're seeing the guy with the Gucci belts, the Gucci hat, all of this stuff, and the guy that wants to constantly buy you drinks, I feel like that guy is the one that doesn't have money.
Right. Because
he's kind of like portraying this persona that's not really him.
But only to a point, right? Because if a guy shows up and he's wearing a hoodie and looks like he's homeless,
right?
Then it's probably the same thing.
You think so?
I'm assuming. I'm just...
From personal experience, the guy that always ended up having money was the guy that was less for me.
Yeah.
And the one that didn't have the money was always the show off. So that's my opinion.
I'm gonna say that too. It's normally how they carry themselves. If they carry themselves too like flashy and too loud, they have no money most of the time. And the ones that are more calm and they're not out here flashing a Gucci belt, like you said, chains everywhere, they're the most. They have the more money.
In clubs, though?
Yeah.
I don't think in clubs. In clubs, I think guys with money, they flash it a little bit, and they buy drinks.
A little bit.
Guys with no money in clubs, they be in the corners not buying shit. So what the,
I agree with that, but it's also when they're just too much. Like you can see when they're just doing way
yeah, but you
too
still
much.
hang out with them. You still drink their drinks and shit.
I don't know if I can agree to that because I've hung out with some listen, I've hung out with some rappers and stuff like that, and it wasn't their money, it was the label's money.
That too.
So that's just like, for instance, you can have somebody do a club hosting or something like that at a strip club, and you can say, hey, I want to have $500 for me to throw at the strip club. And they can provide that for you. That's not their money.
Yeah.
That's being provided for you.
That is true.
So that's why I don't agree to that.
Y'all still get lit though.
Yeah.
All right. What about you? What is a sign that, well, I don't know if she'll be able to answer this, but a sign that you think a guy has money?
Listen, it just all depends on how much they're willing to spend at the end of the day. They could have whatever on. You don't know who rocking what. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how much money's in their bank account. It all depends on how much they're willing to give. Even when they're buying something, tipping, it just depends.
That was the best non-answer I've ever heard. Didn't answer the question at all, but okay.
How much they spend? Got it.
Yeah, fantastic. What about you?
So to touch on the flashy point in the club, right? I think the Miami lifestyle, almost everybody's flashy. So I would say that's the difference between fast money, new money, and old money. I think like generational wealth, they are rocking different brands that aren't the ones that we're seeing on social media every day. They're wearing the watch with the regular face and not the diamond bezel. You know what I'm saying? So I think it comes down to like, So that's new money. That's more of like the flex thing, right? But like when you see a man walk in with old money, you can tell. It's the way he carries himself, and it's just the way that he's going about everything. And some guys don't even like that. They like being treated well, but they also want to be treated like a regular person too. So it kind of just depends. But I think that's the difference between old money and new money.
So I think the next question is, which do they prefer?
Old money.
Okay. Do you want me to go around to finish with what?
Yeah, I was doing that so I wouldn't forget.
Okay.
Because usually I have my notepad.
Okay. What about you? What shows you that a guy has some money?
I think the point of like how they present themselves is very important. Like someone who has money and knows it and doesn't need to show it to the whole world knows they have money because they have confidence, and that's what matters. But I also think like, it really just kind of depends on like, I saw one of my favorite music artists is Bryson Tiller, and he was wearing these expensive ass shoes. I don't even know what they're called, but they're like, bands. So it's like before he even became famous, he was working at Papa John's, so you never really know when someone actually has money or when they don't got money. But I think it's the way they present themselves that's pretty important.
I'll say it is.
Do they drive Chargers?
I was never rich, but I was driving one.
But Bryson Tiller, he dresses very casual, not too crazy, and is like low-key. You wouldn't even know who he was until you heard his music. Like you can't tell who he is in the crowd.
It's because he knows his worth.
Super humble guy. Yeah.
Wow.
You met him or something?
Yeah, in the club.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who that is, but
A singer.
okay.
Yeah, he sings.
Well,
You
I
should
believe
know.
that looks are deceiving because there's a lot of people, like they said, they have brands on and they show off a lot, but maybe you look at someone and they look humble and they have more money. I feel like when you have money, you don't show it off and you don't talk about money. Like you're just humble about it, you know, and you're more into yourself and more into the corner.
All right. What about you?
Actually, you work at a club, right?
Yo, no, bro.
My parents own a club. I run it.
So do you see like how
Oh,
guys?
I see a lot. Trust me. It's like
Right.
you see someone walk in and let's say maybe they came in like work clothes and a lot of people belittle them. And let's say someone comes in all dressed up, everything, and then everyone's like on top of them, like, oh, are you okay? But then you're belittling the other person and the other person has more money.
Right.
And let's say like this person tips you like the one that looks like has a lot of money and is flashing a lot. They probably won't even tip you.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
And the other one probably tip you like $50, like $80, and you're just like, you know, because I've seen a lot of my employees do that.
Mhm.
Like they belittle people, and I'm like, don't do that because you don't know who's walking in. Treat
Facts.
everyone the same.
That's true.
So that's
Alright.
my opinion.
All right.
That's very true.
I also feel like it's like more about like the way you dress and stuff, but also like I feel like we're in a generation where a lot of things we don't know, like the brand stuff. Like you can say, oh yeah, I'm wearing this, but you will never like. What about if you don't know what it is and it's probably expensive, you know? So it's like it's probably more about like, you know, the way that you talk and then you like perceive yourself to other people. Especially in the service industry, you can like it could be like the person that you don't think like it will tip you like the most, you know. You never know. It will be like the person that wear the flashiest like stuff that will not tip you as well, you know. It will tip you like $5, $4, you know. And it's always like it's a battle because you will never know unless you like interact with that person and actually have a conversation with that person and kind of like the vibes that you get from that person as well, you know.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
But often it's tough to tell by tipping alone,
Yeah.
because I know some of the richest guys out there, and they're the tightest
But
Awesome.
I
when it
feel
comes
like
to tipping.
I have had people sat at my table, which like people that have a lot of money and they have like actually like if you give them good service, and then something that I was told like when I was really little like was like, oh yeah, a lot of people that are rich end up marrying people that are in the service industry because they like to be taken care of, so they tend to tip people more that take care of them depending on how your service and how you serve them is. You
I
know,
think
too.
that's just because it's a target-rich environment. I mean, I think that's where the guys are meeting the girls. But anyway,
That could be too. I would piggyback off of what Maddie said. Like they're subtle assets, so not too flashy. Like a plain Jane watch, nice timepiece, like an asset. The type of car they drive, what their house looks like. Someone who looks professional and clean. Their position at their job, and I guess also who they know in their network, so their credibility is like also could be vouched for. This is not all the time though. This is like dead giveaways. If it is like an example of a high value man or a rich man, but like for the most part, the men who have like their large subtle assets, they're not too flashy with it or bragging about it, and it's just like a regular thing to them.
All right.
All right.
And you?
I would kind of piggyback up what they said, just kind of presenting yourself to everybody. First impressions are everything, so it's like, you know, make that first impression matter. Don't be too like, you know, like I have this, I have that, and then you don't have that in the end. You know, always be humble. If you do have it, a lot of the people that are wealthy, you know, they don't really like to flash a lot of like, you know, fancy things because they know they have it at the end of the day. So.
What do you prefer now?
Well, yeah.
And I
What do you
think also
prefer
too,
now?
what's interesting is it's a combination here. I think is what it boils down to for the people watching this. If they want some tips, it's not just aesthetically how you present yourself, but it's also your personality, and it's how you carry yourself. Like Mystery says, I don't know if he said this before, but there has to be congruency, right? So
Yes.
if you're a guy
Some-
that dresses like fresh, let's say, okay, that's fine. If you're obnoxious, then the girl's going to think, well, this guy's just. He's just like a poser. He doesn't, he's not really rich. He's just pretending to be rich. But if he carries himself with a lot of confidence and walks in there and has all this social proof, like
Yep.
Mystery would say,
Yeah.
now all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if you saw a famous rapper or something like that was dressed over the top, you wouldn't assume that he's broke because there's congruency there. So however you're presenting yourself, if you're one of these guys watching and you want some of those tips, I think that's key.
Okay. And then the question to follow up, you said, which one would you prefer?
Old money versus new money?
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that's interesting too is because you're 30, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was
I turned 32 weeks ago.
I was wondering if her answer would be quite a bit different from the other gals. Because I retired in 2012, but I've had thousands of people that have worked for me over the years, and the majority of the people that worked for me were actually women, and they were kind of professionals, upper 20s to probably mid 30s or so. And what they would always do, because back in the day when guys used to go out to clubs, you'd wear a suit, or maybe not a full suit, but a sport jacket, and the trends in fashion have changed quite a bit, significantly. But what the secret was is they'd always look at the guy's shoes, because he'd wear a nice sport jacket or something like that, or a nice shirt, but then he'd wear a very cheap, inexpensive pair of shoes, and that was always the dead giveaway. Where if the guy was wearing an expensive pair of shoes with everything else, then you had that congruency. Then you're like, okay, oh yeah, that guy's got his stuff straight.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you want to ask what would they prefer?
Yeah, which would you prefer? So because the old money, it seems like that would be a bit stale. That wouldn't be as much fun. Where the new money type of guy, that might be, more parties, more spending money,
more of an experience,
more yachts for the, more Dubai.
Yeah. Versus the other guy, it might be more consistent, but maybe got it as a inheritance, right? Is that what you mean? When you say old money?
I think that has a lot to do with it as well, because I would assume that a gal is going to want to go out with a guy that was able to make his own money, right? Because if if it was given to you, then that really doesn't prove who you are. It doesn't mean that you're capable. It doesn't mean that you're a leader. It doesn't mean that you're decisive, right? But if you've made that money, like you guys have, from scratch, you just came from nothing, that in and of itself proves that you're ambitious. It proves that you're smart. It proves that you're good with money. It proves that you're a leader. It proves that you can manage people. And I think those are all qualities that are very attractive to women, but it's something that they can sense intuitively.
It's funny. When I'm on a date sometimes, Alex, how'd you do the podcast with Myron? And the story itself shows a lot of DHV. And that by itself does show social proof.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's huge.
All right. Did you want to ask that question? Yeah. So we'll go here. Would you prefer a guy that comes from a rich family, maybe inherited the money, right? Old money, or a guy that got it himself, but obviously he might be throwing money around and a little bit more reckless with it, etc.
Ooh. And you said,
a guy inherited it because his family's wealthy, right? So he's doing well and is probably going to stay there for maybe another generation or two. Versus a guy, he's the first one to make money in his family. He's throwing around crazy, don't know how to act. You know what happens when you can't give these niggas money, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
So
I would say a guy that inherited the money.
you go with him?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Security?
Security is one thing. And I just feel like when it's old money, I just feel like it's managed well because it's been there for so long.
Yeah.
And I think that's a mindset. Like I feel like what she was saying earlier, what Maddie was saying earlier, that you have more knowledge behind it.
Okay.
Like I feel like you have more education, more people that's willing to pour into you when it's older.
But the people that gave it to him has the knowledge and the wisdom.
But not all
the guy
men.
might not. The guy might be a complete, complete
Well, you're saying
idiot.
the old money don't have the knowledge?
Right, because if they inherited the money, it doesn't mean that they're good with money.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
I think that comes down to the parenting of the parents, though. You're either going to have a spoiled brat or you're going to put your kid in position to win even more than you. Hopefully, you want them to go past beyond what you
But
were
then you
able to
also
do.
have to remember, if you're with that guy and times become tough, what is his level of competency with navigating that storm if he's just been handed everything in a silver spoon?
Right.
Or the guy that made it himself, that if you go through some trouble.
I just didn't like the idea, and not to cut you off, I'm sorry. I just didn't like the idea of what he said, which he throws it around everywhere. I think that for me was kind of like a scary point.
Okay.
And I'm more so speaking from my own personal experience. To me, having to had issues with handling money financially myself, seeing a man do that, it scares me because it's like, oh my God, I don't want to be put back into the same situation
Like
that
her
I'm trying to get
situation.
myself out of.
Understood.
Shop
Yeah.
liquors, man.
All right. What about you?
I'm gonna say old money, but then what you said about him throwing it around, that does scare me. But I'm gonna say new money. Yeah, I'm gonna say new money. But it still scares me that you said it throws around. But I feel like someone with new money, you have the ambition and you have the goals to continue to get more, and you made it, so you're gonna continue making it.
All right.
I'm gonna say new money because I would never want to deal with somebody who's like out of touch with reality, if that makes sense.
That's good.
So I would rather go through the struggle and the storm and everything, navigating and stuff.
Stop the cap.
Yeah, you like chicks, bro.
I'm about to say.
I don't like
You like women. All right. What about you?
Well, contrary to what I was going to say, I would say new money because I want a partner that's just as hungry and like came from like the bottom up, but I would like to be able to harness it into old money together, create an empire.
What about you, Miss Charger?
I mean, that was like perfectly worded right there. I think we all can say that was pretty spot on. But yeah, I would also say new money. I think if you're mature enough, I think you will attract someone just as mature, and you can teach them the right way to get back into, the good habits of saving it, creating it to be old money.
I would say new money as well, like what she said, because, you build an empire together and come from the bottom together. And
Together.
Bruh.
Yeah, because
Love
let's
that
say
word.
Y'all building?
okay, so we're saying like this person has new money, right?
Yeah.
And they're throwing it. I don't like that. But as a partner and as a woman, I'm gonna correct you because we're here to guide each other.
So
as
you're
a
gonna
couple.
tell them how to spend their money,
Not to
when you didn't
spend
make
it.
their money.
Not to spend it, but I have my own stuff. But if we're dating, I guess we're together, right? So we're one. We're whole.
You're whole?
Yes. So I feel like you
Merch.
have to help each other out and correct each other out.
And her issue is it's going to be very difficult for her to find a guy like that.
Yeah.
Extremely difficult.
I wants to build.
Well, just you guys understand hypergamy. So she's very smart. And how old are you?
24.
24. I mean, she's got an Airbnb, she's got a business, she's got a podcast, she's got all these things going on. So, try to find a 24-year-old guy out there where that she would look at and say, oh, he's up here. I want to aspire to be like that, which is what all girls at the end of the day are looking for. So if you just do and look at the probabilities, it's a numbers game. And so if you think about how many guys are in that age group that are in Miami, how many of them are single, how many of them are straight, how many of them have over, 200 testosterone or whatever, your pool is very, very limited. So unfortunately, the more talent you have as a gal, it really limits your options. It just is what it is.
Well said. Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Sorry, you were next.
Okay. I feel like somebody that has new money because they come from zero. And
Bro,
I
she
have
don't care, bro.
Well,
Nigga,
I
you-
do
she don't
care
care, man.
sometimes. I do.
I spend it on you anytime.
Okay, because I'm also scared of being alone. I love my boyfriend. He's the best, but I'm also scared of being alone, so that's why.
That's what it is.
But
Yeah.
that's
She don't
what
wanna be
guys
alone.
do, though.
Then I said, baby, I'll never leave you.
Okay.
Sit here, bro. Hey, you know what's funny, right? He probably so cheap right now, man.
Oh, wow.
Where is he right now?
That nigga, yo,
He's at home.
With who?
With himself? I got the keys.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Do you have his location?
Yeah. 24/7.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry.
20%.
Well, she's the boss, so I mean,
God damn.
makes sense.
Yeah, but
I wish a chick would.
But how long have you gone out with this guy?
For 3 years. But I rather build a man than already like.
Wait.
Build a man?
Yeah.
Wait, who
We
cooks?
have- I cook and he cooks also. But he was the cook in Texas Roadhouse. I learned how to cook recently.
Yeah, but and how old are you?
I'm 21 years old.
Oh, 20, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is you give it another 2 years and there's zero chance they're still good.
Yeah, I should be tired of that shit, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. I always say it's like a shot clock. If a girl's providing for you as a man, just a matter of time until she gets tired of that shit. She's like, man, fuck this shit.
I mean, if he's smart, he'd be debt free and leave free and clear.
Yeah.
If he's smart.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about you?
I want to say new money, but I'm going to go with old money because I feel like the probability of the longevity of that is higher than the new money. Even though I do want to enjoy the thrill and the fun of having new money and how they spend it. I think the old money can have a combination of that. So it's like, why can't we have like a little bit of both? But like, obviously, like primarily the old money because, like I said, the probability of it lasting is higher in my opinion.
But think about the ambition, right? Because women make decisions just intuitively.
Right.
Right. Everyone likes to think that they rationalize decisions, but really it's kind of, how you feel. And what I think a lot of times turns women on is that ambition, where the guy that didn't make it himself, he had everything just given to him. Zero ambition, just sitting at home doing nothing, and his parents have taken care of him. But then you've got this other guy that is dynamic, powerful, and he built all that stuff from the ground up. And he wants to continue to have more and more and more and more, and people look up to him.
My thing is, I don't think somebody who inherited wealth is not always going to not have ambition. So I feel like they can also get wealth inherited and also be ambitious as well. Because I don't think that negates the fact that just because they inherited it, they're not going to be ambitious whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a game of probabilities.
Right. So
what you guys will realize when you get older and older and older, it's the guys that are super ambitious. Those are usually the people that have made the fortune themselves. They're self-made.